Okay, perfect. Thank you.
ओम गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वर गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः ओम जी can you are you able to read page number
Okay.
170 from here.
Okay, you want me to start? The author talks about the different aspects, or where it says Vakpani Pada Payu Payu Pashaniti Pancha. Is that where you want me to start?
Yes, that's correct, Anju.
Okay, great. Nirmala, may I ask you to just chant it? Because I'll probably butcher all the words. I'm sorry about that. Unless you want to hear it butchered, I don't mind.
No, no, no problem.
You can chant and I'll read all the English.
Yeah. Vakpani पाद पायुपस्तानिति पञ्चकर्मणेन्द्रियाणि वाचो देवतावहिनः हस्तयोरिन्द्रः पाद्योर्विष्णुः पार्योर्मृत्युः उपस्थस्य प्रजापतिः इति कर्मणेन्द्रियदेवताः वाचो विषयभाषणं पाणिर्विषयवस्तुग्रहणं पाद्योर्विषयगमनं पार्योर्विषयमलत्यागः उपस्थस्य विषय आनन्द इति.
Beautifully said. First, he enumerates the five organs, the organ of speech, Vak, the organ of speech. It is useful to be reminded here that we are not talking about the physical part, which is the tongue. The physical part, as we have seen, is called golakam, which may be there even in a person who is dumb. The reference here is to the invisible faculty because of which the tongue is able to express. The invisible part is called Vak Saktihi or Vak Indriya, the organ of speech, Panihi, which means the two hands because of which we are able to handle the objects of the world. We always use our hands to do whatever we want to, i.e., the outputs we want to give. The reference here is to the faculty and not the physical part. In fact, the very word handle must have come from hand. Handle means that we do with our hands. Padaha, the foot or the leg. The pair of legs we have is called padau, pedao, feet. They are meant for movement. It is because of them that we have mobility. So, padaha stands for locomotion or the power of movement. Payuhu, that internal organ which removes the waste from the body. Our body is a very big factory which takes in a lot of raw material, and in this factory of the body, the food is converted into energy for activity. Any factory will need to discharge the waste. So the body factory also has wastes which have to be evacuated. Otherwise, there will be a health hazard. That organ which does this is called Payuhu, waste removing organ, both solid waste as well as liquid waste. Upashtaha, the organ of reproduction, because of which every living being reproduces and perpetuates its parampara or lineage. Here also we should remember all references to the organs are not to the golokam, the physical part, but to the indriyam, the invisible faculty. I just lost the page. Indriyam, let's see. Let's see. I'm sorry, I just touched the iPad and then it just went to another page. The indriyam, okay. Oh, the physical part, but to the indriya, Indriyam, the invisible faculty. So Indriyams have to be enumerated. The next aspect is the corresponding devatas. Vacho devata vanihi, vahini, vanihi. Vanihi or Agnihi is the name of the devata for the total power of communications, which is a very important faculty. Many times we do not communicate properly, and at the same time we are unable to keep our mouth shut. At times we also fall victim to communication gap. In fact, most of the problems in a family can be traced to communication gap. So the corresponding total potential that is called Vak Devata Agnihi, it is also called Saraswati Vak Devi. Most of us only pray to Lakshmi Devi for blessing us with wealth. But if we want to totally avoid the communication gap in the family, we have to pray more to Saraswati, the Vak Devi. Another name is Brahspatihi. Braha means Vak, so Brahspatihi means the Devata of Vak. Therefore, Agni Devata, Saraswati Devata, and Brahaspati Devata, all of them represent the total power of speech. Then, Hastayaho Indriya, Indriya Devata represents our total power of handling. We have only limited power and are barely able to carry our own weight. What to talk of extra weight? That is why someone was asked what middle age was, and he said that it was the period in life when one can carry one's own weight. In old age, even that would not be possible. A third hand would be required even to get up if sitting on the floor. The next is Padayoho Vishnuhu. Vishnu Devata or Lord Narayana, especially in his Trivikrama or Vanama form, Vishnu is considered to be the presiding deity for movement because only in his Trivikrama avatara he showed his power of movement. Please refer to the story of King Mahabali in the Bhagavad Purana to understand the connection between Lord Vishnu and the power of movement. The next is Payoramutuyuhu. The presiding deity of cleansing the residue or the remnant is Mrutyuhu, that is Yama, Dharmaraja Yama. Dharmaraja. Yama is the presiding deity for removing the waste. In the context of our body, only when the waste is removed can we eat afresh. The duty of the Lord Yama is to remove people from the world through death. For example, in old age, what is there left in us? Only the old shell of the body, which is a waste. When old people become a burden to the earth, they have to be evacuated to make place for the new generation. So Lord Yama represents the power of evacuation, the power of removing the unwanted, paving way for the fresh creation. Any destruction in the universe is a stepping stone for the next construction. So destruction is always constructive destruction. We should never look down upon Mrityuhu, which literally means death. Is there something going on that I need to stop for?
No, you can continue.
Oh, okay. We should never look down upon Mrityu, which literally means death. But in this context, it refers to Lord Yama Dharmaraja. That is why, while taking the name, the word Dharma is emphasized. He never does anything which is adharmic. His activities are never unjust. He never takes to unfair activities. Our problem is that we don't mind everybody else dying, but we have an unfair attitude that we and the others close to us should live eternally. This is an unfair expectation on our part, and Lord Yama. Do we ask the person to put their mic off, or do you want me to continue? Okay. Our problem is that we don't mind everybody else dying, but we have an unfair attitude that we and a few others close to us should live eternally. That is an unfair expectation on our part, and Lord Yama will never fulfill this unfair expectation. Can everybody else hear the noise, or is it just me?
No, I can also hear.
Oh, okay. Do I mute other people, or how do I do it? Okay, never mind. I'll just continue. The fifth and the last one is Upashte Dasya Prajapatihi. The presiding deity of Upashta, the organ of reproduction, generation, or creation, is Prajapatihi, i.e. Brahma, the four-headed Devata. Brahma is worshipped as the creator, and that Brahmaji's total power of creation alone manifests in every living being. The only difference is that Brahmaji can create all species, whereas human beings can create only human species. So we have got a limited power of reproducing only our species. But Brahmaji has the unlimited power of reproducing all creation. He stands for the total potential of creation, and that is why he has four heads. The four heads stand for the four Vedas, and the four Vedas stand for the total knowledge, omniscience. Any creation is knowledge. Any creativity requires knowledge. Shall we stop here for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
That's pretty good. I like the idea that everything is got a function there. That was very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall I read now from here on?
Yeah,
Sure.
Hemanji, I think you can proceed because
Okay.
if not, yeah. Okay, Anjali.
Okay, Anjuji, thank you for reading. So, iti karmendriya devataha. These are the devatas of these are the devatas of organs of action. Now, what remains in this topic is a discussion on the functions of each one of the karmendriyas. Vacho vishaya bhashanam. Vishaya, as we have seen earlier, means function. The function of organ of speech is bhashanam, that is speech. Panyor vishaya vastu grahanam. The function of the two hands is the handling of the objects. Vastu means objects or things, and grahanam means handling. Padayor vishaya gamanam. The function of the feet is movement. Payor vishaya malatyagaha. The function of payuhu is the elimination or the discharge of malam, that is waste. The waste discharged through sweat or excretion of any form of waste would come under the function of malatyagaha. And upastasya vishayaha anandaha. The function of the organ of reproduction is reproduction, begetting children, becoming parents, raising the status of the person to parenthood. The scriptures point out that parenthood is anandaha, whether one may agree or not, because one sees oneself in his or her child. Also, when we die, we never look upon it as total disappearance, but we perceive that we continue to survive in the form of our children. Children represent immortality. Therefore, Anandaha, otherwise called immortality, is the word used here for begetting children. So the perpetuation of the species is the function of the upastaha. That completes the description of 10 out of 17 organs. Pancha pranaha, 5 physiological systems. However, we find in a similar description of the Pancha pranas, that is 5 pranas, is missing in the original text. We do not know if these have been omitted inadvertently by the author. In the absence of their description by the author, we will study them on the basis of the scriptures. The fivefold pranic system can be called the fivefold physiological system. They are somewhat similar to the physiological system that we find in modern biology. These physiologic functions are divided into 5. This is this Shastric approach. These are called pranaha, apanaha, vyanaha, samanaha, and udanaha. The order has been slightly changed for ease of understanding sequentially. Prana is the respiratory system. The external air is breathed in as the pranavayu. Sorry, the energy is absorbed and thereafter the wastage is exhaled. The second one is apanaha, which means the evacuatory or the excretory system. That energy which gives the power for removal of the waste from the body. Next is vyanaha, which is the circulatory system for the energy that is manufactured out of the food. Food is first converted into energy, and that energy is supplied or distributed to every cell of the body. This is done by vyanaha, which is known as circulatory system in biological terms. The fourth one is called samanaha, which is the digestive system, which alone converts the raw materials called food into invisible energy. We require energy for all our activities. And finally, we have got udanaha. It is a unique system which functions only rarely. It is like an emergency exit. They are like the fire extinguisher, which are not normally used but used only in an emergency. A similar concept can be observed in Vishnu temples. They have a door on the northern side of the deity, which is called Swargavasal, entrance to heaven. This door will not be opened at all on normal days. It is opened only once a year, and that too on Vaikunta Ekadashi day. Similarly, Bhagavan, God, the omniscient Lord, has kept an emergency power to protect and save our body and health. And that power gets activated whenever any poison or toxin which is threat to our health enters our body. This power manifests either in the form of vomiting or purging until the poison is thrown out. If some foreign particle enters through the nose, we keep on sneezing till that particle is thrown out. Similarly, if some dust particle enter eyes, the tear glands begin to put in extra effort till the dust particle is removed. Even when we are sorrowful or we experience certain unhealthy emotions, then also tears come down our eyes. According to the scientists, those unhealthy toxins in the mind are removed through tears. But tears flow when we are extremely elated also. But the composition of these tears is different from the composition of the tears we shed due to sorrowful and unhealthy emotion. All these are examples of the functional. All these are example of the function of udanaha, which we can call the reversing function or the emergency function, which operates rarely. This function also operates at the time of death when all the organs have to withdraw their respective function. Udana therefore is active at the time of death also. All things inside the body are thrown out. Food cannot be taken inside. All this happens because the Sukshma Shariram has to leave the Stula Shariram. These are the Panchak Pranas, the five-fold physiological system. Antakaranam, the four inner equipments. And finally, we have two more, Manaha and Buddhi, which are called Antakaranam. Manaha is defined as samshaya or doubting faculty. Samshaya or doubting is a faculty. In fact, this faculty is very active in many people. They are called doubting Thomases. In Sanskrit, it is expressed as sankalpa vikalpatmakam manaha, oscillating faculty. The famous opening phrase of the soliloquy, to be or not to be, in William Shakespeare's play Hamlet comes to our mind. When in doubt, we keep on oscillating between two ideas, like pendulum of the clock, to be or not to be. The pendulum moving in one direction is called sankalpa. The pendulum moving in the opposite direction is called vikalpa. The sankalpa vikalpa oscillation or facilitation faculty is called manaha. It is also the emotional faculty. So mind stands for both the faculties, that is doubt as well as emotion. Whereas buddhi is the faculty we call the intellect. It is the rational faculty. In Sanskrit, it is expressed as nischayatmakam, that which puts an end to the vacillation, decisive. Sorry. It is the buddhi which puts an end to the vacillation of the mind by taking a decision. So this is the decisive or rational or intellectual faculty. These are thus 17 components of Sukshma Shariram. In some other texts, 2 more constituents are added to the 17 to make them 19 constituents. Those 2 additions are Chittam and Ahankaraha. Chittam is the memory faculty. It is extremely important faculty because without that we will have to keep learning everything again and again. Even for the study of this text, the basic assumption is that we remember that what we have read and understood in the earlier chapters. But for that, we will forever be stuck in page 1 only. The last faculty is ahankaraha, which refers to the ego, the I notion, because of which we identify the Stula Shariram and the Sukshma Shariram. Thus, we can count these 4 also, that is Manaha, Buddhi, Chittam and Ahankaraha, along with the 15 to make total of 19 components of Sukshma Shariram. Now, to consider an interesting question before we proceed further, the scripture says that after that of the Stula Shariram, the Sukshma Shariram travels to take up another gross body, and they also says that all information, data, memory, etc. stored in the Sukshma Shariram, including the mind, is transferred to this new gross body, and this process goes on until Pralayam. This means that we carry the mind and memories from the previous birth. Now, a question is often asked as to why we don't remember anything from our previous births. This question is answered from 2 perspectives. It is not true that all of us do not remember anything from the previous birth. The child prodigies we see are those persons who have memories of previous births passed on to them which they can recall. Otherwise, there can be no explanation of a small child is able to render music or play a musical instrument or solve mathematical problems. We call them genius. So a genius is that person who has been able to recall the memory of his previous births and work on it in the present birth to produce extraordinary results in his chosen field of action. This is the first perspective. Secondly, for most of us, when we cannot recall what happened a few days or few weeks or few years ago, how can we recall what happened in the last birth or few births ago? As we are reading this book, if someone were to ask us what was all discussed in 3rd chapter, most of us will not be able to recall unless we refer back to the 3rd chapter. So just because the mind continues to exist from birth to birth, there is no rule that we should remember the experiences of the previous birth. There are many things we remember, many things we forget because of long passage of time. Nirmalaji, you want to continue?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
Karana Shariram, causal body. The next topic is the 3rd Anatma, that is Karana Shariram. As usual, the student asks, Karana Shariram Kim? And the author explains. अनिर्वाच्यानाथ्यविद्यारूपं शरीरदवयस्य कारणमात्रं सत्स्वरूपपाज्ञानं निर्विकल्पकरूपं यदस्ति तत्कारणशरीरम्. Karana Shariram can literally be translated as the causal body. Karanam means cause. Here also, we will study the four factors: the condition, cause, function, and nature. For the sake of convenience, we first take up the function. To understand the function of Karanam Sharinam, we need to know a very important law of the creation. It is very important from the point of view of the scriptures and also from the perspective of modern science. This law of creation states is that nothing is ever created. In fact, the word creation itself is a misnomer. Really speaking, because of the law of conservation of matter and energy, matter can never be created and matter can never be destroyed. In short, nothing can be created or destroyed. It means when we talk about the creation of a desk, really speaking, the carpenter does not create anything. The desk was already existent in the form of wood. Carpenter does not even add 1 ounce of matter or even 1 milligram of matter. By his effort, he has only modified the wood into the desk form. That is only transformation of matter from one form to the other. This transformation alone we erroneously call creation. Similarly, when an ornament is created, the goldsmith does not produce even a microgram of gold. Already matter was there in the form of gold, and he has only given a particular shape to it. It is a sheer transformation from one form of matter to another form. Similarly, when a tree is generated or produced, no tree is generated. It already existed in the form of a seed, and that seed is called the unmanifest form of the tree. The tree did exist very much in the seed in a potential form, in an unmanifest form. Production of the tree is not production nor creation. It is only that the unmanifest tree comes to manifestation. Similarly, all our bodies existed in the womb of the mother in potential form, and the creation of our body is the unmanifest form coming to manifestation. So everything existed all the time. This whole universe, this whole creation existed all the time. Bhagavan or God did not create even an ounce of matter. A question may arise that if that would be the case, that the world existed all the time, why do we talk about the creation of the world called Srishtihi? And why do we talk about the dissolution of the world called Pralayaha? The scriptures point out that the creation of the world is not really the creation of the world. The creation existed before also. But the only difference is, just as the tree existed before in an unmanifest form, similarly, the universe also existed in an unmanifest form. The scriptures call it the seed form of the universe. Just as there is a seed form for the tree, just as there is a seed form for the body, the whole universe also existed in an unmanifest potential causal form. When the scientists study cosmology, they also talk about the Big Bang theory. And according to that theory, before the Big Bang, the whole universe existed in a very, very condensed form. In science, they call it singularity. In Vedanta, we call it avyakta prapancha. So the creation is nothing, but the avyaktam, the unmanifest, coming to vyaktam, that is manifestation. Just as the seed becomes sprout, the sprout becomes the plant, and the plant becomes the tree. Similarly, tree of the universe also evolves. And if creation is nothing but manifestation, what will be the dissolution of the universe? We have to extend the same principle. At the time of Pralayaha, the world will not be destroyed. Due to the operation of the law of nature, matter can neither be created nor destroyed. Universe cannot be destroyed. At the time of Pralayaha, the whole manifest universe again will go back to unmanifest condition. Thus, we need to understand that going from manifestation to unmanifest condition is called Pralayaha, and going from unmanifest condition to manifestation is called Srishtihi. This means the universe will always exist either in Avyakta Rupam or Vyakta Rupam. And this law applies to everything in the universe. When we destroy the desk, it will become pieces of wood. If we burn the pieces of wood, it will be reduced to ashes. If we mix the ashes with earth, it will reduce to mud form, from which again the wood will grow. We can only change the form. In fact, the atom bomb explosion was based on this theory. When matter is converted into energy, it becomes an atomic explosion. Einstein's theory E equals mc square is based on this. When matter is destroyed, it will get converted into energy. And when we reconvert the energy, it will again become matter. If this is true, we can say that every object in the creation existed even before its creation, but in an unmanifest form. Whether it is a fan, mic, or carpet, or even our own body, everything must have existed even before its creation in its potential form. So, our two bodies, that is, Sthula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram, must have existed even before their creation. And they would have existed in unmanifest form, seed form or causal form. That causal form of these two Sharirams is called Karana Shariram. The causal form for this mic will be Karana mic. The causal for the desk will be Karana desk. And causal form of the earth will be Karana earth. And so on. And the most important aspect to understand is that each manifest form contains the seed for the unmanifest form. Like the seed of a mango tree is contained in the seed which is inside the mango fruit. And therefore, the author says, Karana Shariram serves as the seed for the Stula and Sukshma Sharirams to originate. The next logical question would be, when the whole creation is destroyed, what will happen to the Sthula and Sukshma Sharirams? The answer is that they will not get destroyed, but will get converted back into Karana Shariram. And when the next Srishtihi comes, again the Karana Shariram will be transferred into Sthula and Sukshma Sharirams. And this process will go on eternally. Unmanifest becomes manifest. Manifest again goes back to unmanifest. Water becomes vapor, and vapor again becomes water. In the Gita, Bhagavan Krishna says in verse 28, chapter 2, Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata Avyaktadinanamyeva tatra ka paridevana. Lord Krishna says that everything was unmanifest. It became manifest, and it will go again back to unmanifest. This expansion-contraction process will eternally continue. Expansion is falsely called creation. Contraction is falsely called destruction. Therefore, Lord Krishna addresses Arjuna, who is dying. There is no phenomenon called death at all. It is all change of shape only. So where is birth and where is death? Birth and death are there only in your perspective. This is what the author explains in the text. Shariradhyavayasya karanamatram. The karana shariram is merely the seed. It does not do any function. It serves only as a seed. Matram means only. So, it is the only cause for Sharira Dvayasya, the two bodies. That is, Sthula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram. Now, what is the condition of this body? The author says, Nirvikalpa Rupa. When anything is in causal form or seed form, it will be in an undifferentiated form. It means that the various parts will not be clearly visible or recognizable. In the tree form, we can clearly see the branch, the leaf, the trunk, the flower, the fruit, etc. All are clearly recognizable. But in the seed form, even though everything is present, it is in an undifferentiated form. In the small lump of flesh after conception of a baby, all the organs of the baby are present in the DNA of the baby, to use the language of genetics. If we do a DNA mapping, we will find all the information coded in the genetic language. What type of baby will it be after 15 years? Whether it will have congenital diseases, whether it will be healthy or sick, whether it will have hair on top of the head or not, whether psychological problems will be there or not, all this information is in the DNA. But we are not able to detect because we have not yet mastered to decode this language. That is why, as the child is born and it grows, parents are always anxious because we cannot recognize whatever is there in a potential form. And certain diseases like hypertension, diabetes, kidney problems, etc., manifest only after several years. But all these are present in potential form all the while. And therefore, the condition of the Karana Shariram is such that we will not be able to differentiate or distinguish anything. And such this undistinguishable state is called Nirvikalpaka Rupam. Vikalpa means differences. In Stula Shariram, the differences are clear. We are clearly able to see and distinguish the head, the hands, the legs, etc. So the Vikalpas are clear. In Sukshma Shariram, the differences are less clear, but we can still make out. We know what is mind, what is intellect, what is emotion, what is memory, what is jnanendriyam, etc. These differences are evident. On the contrary, in Karna Shariram, the differences will not be detectable at all. This in Sanskrit is called Nirvikalpaka Rupa.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, now then I'll start reading them. From here, right? Now let us.
Yeah, correct.
So let us study the nature of Karana Sharira. The author says its nature is Swarupa Ajnana. We need to understand the word Ajnana very clearly. We have seen that with respect to the universe, the Karana Shariram obtains before the creation or after the dissolution. And as per the definition, the differences will not be recognizable in the unmanifest part. This means that the subject-object duality will not be recognizable in Karana Avastha. In our present manifest form, we are able to we are able to clearly differentiate that I am the subject, knower, and all other things are objects, the known. Duality will not be recognizable. Since knower known division itself is not recognizable. We cannot talk about any knowledge in the Karana Avastha. We cannot talk about any form of knowledge. We can talk about knowledge only when there are divisions. Even in classroom, learning or knowing takes place because there is someone teaching and someone listening by using their mind and ears. And we can talk about knowledge when there are so many instruments, but when there is no division of subject, object, mind, sense, organs, intellect, etc., we cannot talk about knowledge. And therefore, the nature of that state of Karana Shariram is Ajnanam, that is total ignorance, because the infrastructure for knowledge is absent. So, author says Karana Shariram is that which consists of ignorance, Satsvarupa, real nature of everything. Karana Shariram is that which consists of ignorance of Satsvarupa, the real nature of everything. It is in the nature of total blanket ignorance. And that is why the cosmologists, through their research, are trying to find out the condition before Big Bang. According to the theory of general relativity, the initial state of universe at the beginning of the Big Bang was singularity. Both general theory of general relativity and quantum mechanics break down in describing the Big Bang. They found the in a state they call singularity, but they are unable to understand what caused the Big Bang. They therefore define singularity as a state of no information. We call it Karana Shariram. They call it state of no information. We call it Ajnanam. It is widely believed that despite all research, the scientists will never be able to know the cause. Now, what is the cause of Karana Shariram? The question itself seems absurd because by the definition, Karana Shariram is root cause of everything. Being root cause of everything, it can never be an effect or a product. Everything is born out of Karana Shariram, but Karana Shariram itself is not born out of anything. That is why author calls it Anadi. Anadi means beginningless. And this Anadi Karana Shariram is given a technical name Avidya or Mula Avidya. The word Avidya is a technical word and is another word for Karana Shariram. And since it is the root cause, it is called Mula Avidya. It has several other names also. It is called Maya, Prakridihi, Abhyaktam, Shaktihi, etc. All these are synonyms. Of these, author chooses the use Anadi Avidya Rupam. Thus, we can understand Karana Shariram as cause, or as the causeless cause of the universe. We are now left with the word Anirvachya. This is another technical word for Mithya. We have already learned the meaning of this word when we discussed the Atma Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mithya. We learned that Satyam is independent existence and Mithya has only dependent existence. And we also considered the example of a desk and a clay pot. In a clay pot, clay has got independent existence. Even if the pot is destroyed, clay will continue. The pot has got a dependent existence. If you remove the clay, the pot cannot exist. So there we learned that Anatma is Mithya. And here the author introduces another word, Anirvachya, which means Mithya. The entire Anatma is Mithya. The author uses the word only while discussing Karana Shariram because it can be used in the context of all Sharirams. So one can say Anirvachya Sthula Shariram, Anirvachya Sukshma Shariram, and of course Anirvachya Karana Shariram. All are Mithya. There is another interesting aspect. Karana Shariram by its very own definition will exist before creation or after dissolution. Therefore, there is no way of seeing or experiencing the Karana Shariram now. Because Shastras say that we can get a taste of the Karana Shariram if we have that we can get a taste of the Karana Shariram if we have a desire to know that. However, for that we cannot destroy the whole universe. We all know that before the construction of a large building complex, the architects build a miniature model. Shastras say we get a similar model of Karana Shariram very easily and very regularly whenever we go to sleep. During sleep, the Sthula Shariram is as though dissolved because we are unaware of it. Thus, we can say that sleep is a miniature model of dissolution of the Sthula Shariram. Not that it is actually dissolved, but it is as though or seemingly dissolved because we won't experience the physical body. Similarly, the Sukshma Shariram is also as though dissolved during the sleep, as none of them function at that time. Ears, eyes, emotions, knowledge, ego, intellect, memory, etc. are all as though dissolved. We can never say that we are asleep in the present state. This is because all our faculties are dissolved. If we can say that we are asleep, it would mean that we are not asleep. In sleep, everything is as though or seemingly dissolved. So that sleep is a miniature version of pralayam, and therefore Shastra call it laya. Laya is the miniature version of pralaya. We can remove and make it a miniature. During sleep, we don't experience the world. We don't experience our physical body. We don't experience our subtle body, and we don't experience our mind, our intellect. We experience nothing but sleep. Therefore, the subject duality is absent. Even all the knowledge stored in our system is dissolved. There is only total ignorance. There is only Satswarupa Jnanam. There is an interesting story which highlights this fact. An Orthodox person who used to practice untouchability was traveling in a train. There was another person sitting next to him. The Orthodox person wanted the other person not to touch him since he was very Orthodox. The train started moving and both of them fell asleep. In the process, Orthodox person still asleep fell on the lap of the other person. At that time, there was no issue of untouchability. He woke up. He once again warned the other person not to touch him. So the lesson is that all these practices of touchable, untouchable, etc., that is, all divisions are only in waking state, but not in deep sleep state. That is why sleep is given as an example for recognizing Karana Sharira. The actual Karana Sharira will be available only in Pralaya Avastha. The whole universe is dissolved. We need to understand this aspect carefully. At the time of Pralayam, dissolution of universe, subtle body also gets dissolved. However, the causal body continues to exist even at the time of Pralayam because that is going to be the seed for next creation of gross and subtle bodies. Just as the farmers keep some seeds for next crop, similarly, Lord is an intelligent farmer. He keeps all the causal bodies within with which he can create the physical and subtle bodies in the next round of creation. Causal bodies, therefore, have the longest life possible. The causal body is dissolved only under one condition. The gross body goes at the time of death. The subtle body goes at the time of prayam. The causal body goes or gets dissolved only once in a once in a person's lifetime, and that happens at the time of liberation or moksha. So, wise person jnanis at the time of their death become free from their sthula, sukshma, and karana sharirams. And that is why the scriptures point out that after moksha there will be no rebirth, as the cause for the rebirth itself would get destroyed. Moksha is the final end. This completes the discussion of three sharirams, sthula, sukshma, and karana shariram. I think we can stop here, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, here is actually, I think, when Vedanta actually comes into picture. We have discussed avidya and all now. Avidya is a very important term in term used in the teaching of Vedanta. So it is, even it is my first time that I am understanding avidya as karana chedi. I have not understood it before that. Is there any point we have to discuss? Questions?
Yeah, if this Karna Shariram is Agnanam, then what is Gnanam? Like realizing that Karna Shariram is Agnanam is called Gnanam? Like,
No. Jnanam is that I am the whole. Aham Brahmasmi. That is the actual jnana.
yeah.
That even in deep sleep state, when we wake up, we are able to say that we were asleep. We know that we were dreaming. We know that we were dreaming, and even the dreamless sushupta state, we can say to somebody else that I was not even dreaming. I was really sleepy. We can say that because the awareness is still there. Even in when Karana Sharira is dissolved, I mean, sorry, even when the Sukshma Sharira is dissolved and we are after Pranaya, the consciousness, the awareness is still there. That pure awareness that is called uh, Aham. That is Aham, that is Brahman. That itself is Atma. This Jnanam is called, Jnanam is Jnana. Jnanam is ignorance of this. Uh, I would say ignorance of
Shyam,
this.
sorry.
Right. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, but I actually missed out a few points what you said because there was a lot of disturbance, like your voice was breaking. See,
What
what I'm trying to ask is, if Karna Shariram was the like seed form, like from which everything comes into place, both Stula and Sukshma Sharirams, then is that Karna Shariram itself is the Brahman?
no, Karna Shariram is not Brahman.
So that's where I'm
Karna
getting confused.
Shariram is
Yeah. Yes, that's what exactly.
Jnana means
I'm getting confused at that point. Like, if that is the point of origin, then why is it that not Brahman? I'm like, so I'm just confused there.
what
If Karna Shariram
is
is
your
where
question?
everything is coming from, if everything is manifest from Karna Shariram, then why is it
Yeah,
that not Brahman or the Gnanam? I'm just confused there. Like,
that is not Jnanam because that is where, and it is the unmanifest form only. It is not the
yes.
Jnana. That is not Brahman. Brahman is not the unmanifest form. Brahman is the very cause or the very reality on which this Karana Sharira and this whole unmanifest form is dependent on the Brahman. Understand me? Even in deep sleep state, I am aware that I am asleep. That awareness is the Jnana. That awareness is Brahman. Not, but the deep sleep state is not Brahman. That is just Jnana or the we say when the state where body and Stula and Sukshma Sharira does not function, that is called sleep state. Similarly, when the uh, Stula and Sukshma Shariras are in unmanifest form, that state is only called Karana Sharira. Clear?
Yeah, so is the conscious that that this Karna Shariram will become Sthula and Sukshma Shariram, that conscious, that knowledge, is that the Brahman then?
That no, we cannot say that that knowledge is Brahman. Brahman is the very awareness that exists. That existence is called Brahman. What is Brahman? We'll see later. Brahman is not the knowledge that Karna Sharira manifests. No, that is just our knowledge. We are thinking in our mind that okay, this is what is happening. We are just knowing through class or whatever. That is not Brahman. Brahman is I. I think we will see that later. I cannot
Okay,
explain
sure.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just to add, actually, the next chapter will actually cover your answer, I feel, because it has the three states, the deep, the Sushupta, and the Jagrata Avastha. I don't know if you've gone through, but it maybe answer your question.
Yeah, sure, Nirmalaji. Yeah, maybe it's always the case. Like
Correct,
once you
correct.
go further and further, the doubts get cleared. Actually,
Doubt
yeah,
clear. Yeah, I
yeah.
just saw it. So when you asked the question, I was just going through it.
Okay, hey, okay. Thank you. Sure, we will wait it out. Not a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. what I can only say is that Karana Shariram is not Brahman. Karana Shariram is the unmanifest form. Like seed is for tree, Karana Shariram is for all this matter and all Sukshma and Sthula Shariras. The entire universe, Karana Shariram is like a seed
Yes.
from which it manifests. Brahman is even the cause and the reality, the awareness on which even the causal body exists. That is called Brahman.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'm just not very clear, but yeah, still I would wait.
Yeah,
So I'm like I get it like what you're trying to say, but I'm not able to assimilate what you're saying.
let's see if the next sessions will clear your doubt. If it is not, then we can definitely go to some acharyas for more clarity.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay, Hari. Yeah, we can start. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavachishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.